A game a Super Bowl contending team wins, even if they play like dog crap. Not the case. From top to bottom, so many things went wrong for the Bills. 29-25, they lose in New England to a horrible Patriots team. Welcome to the Buffalo End Zone podcast, everybody. I'm Kevin Carroll.
Hey, way to ease into it, Kev. Really just going soft off the top and letting us work our way into the bad things. I appreciate you taking that stance because we've had the same conversations now, Kevin, for what, 2 weeks? And nothing is changing. And when I and others ask the players what's going on, they say if we do, we wouldn't be playing like this. I don't know how that makes you feel, but I think it's certainly tough when it appears an offense that was humming 3-4 weeks ago against the Dolphins seemingly is now out of the blue, completely lost.
I see, and people have said to me, my friends, something doesn't look right with Josh Allen today while they're in New England. Something hasn't looked right with Josh Allen for every game, in my opinion, other than the Dolphins win for the Bills and the Raiders maybe. Even the game where they dominated Washington, there wasn't something right about Josh Allen then. There is something not right about this Bills offense and how they're approaching games. It's the players, it's the coaching, it's the play calling, it's the execution. It's across the board, John. When you go into New England, a team, the New Orleans Saints, put up 34 points on, a team that was getting thumped by everybody. And given it's Bill Belichick, maybe this answers the question. Is Bill Belichick that good of a coach? Because he sure as heck confused this Bills offense, shut down what is supposed to be one of the best offenses in the league, and came up with a brilliant plan that everyone knew they were going to do. Run the ball down their gut, throw in a couple of wrinkles with some play action, and like I told you during the postgame show, Mac Jones went back in time. Mac Jones looked like the guy from his rookie season that everyone's like, if he has a good play caller in there and he can just manage the game, the Patriots are going to be all right. They made the Patriots look like they're going to be all right, and now the Bills have lost to the Jets and the Patriots in the AFCs. Zach Wilson and Mac Jones have beat the Bills. They beat the Dolphins, who are going to start to run away with this if things don't change. I don't even want to, like the game stuff we normally talk about just seems like hogwash to me. It's such hot garbage that this team has been for everything but the Dolphins game, I think. Go on.
You are absolutely on fire. This is fantastic stuff. I mean, do I even need to be here? You could just keep ranting and rolling yourself here.
I was thinking of that when I was waiting for you to come on. I'm like, I should just go on and just start ranting and raving, and John can join me whenever. But it's a two-man deal.
This is some good stuff. I agree with pretty much everything that you said, especially where I don't think the focus needs to be right now on the New England Patriots, or it didn't a week ago need to be on the Giants, or even Jacksonville the week before that, or the Jets week 1. You give some credit to those teams. I think a lot of the struggles are a product of the Bills themselves, and trying to get to the root of those, or sifting through the layers that get you to where this offense is at this current time. I think that's interesting. I think there's a lot of ways you can talk about it. And so I like this going the direction here. But we could start just a little bit with the Patriots. You're right. Mac Jones, 83.3% completion percentage, 25 of 30. I mean, he was just doing almost whatever he wanted. And to Sean McDermott's point, New England as a whole, they were dictating the game the entire time. We have seen what happens when you flip the script. The Bills are the ones dictating things in the game and force Mac Jones to be something that he's not. Mac Jones is not someone with the game on the line. They have to rally down and stuff like that. I mean, he did it on the last drive.
Can I ask you a quick question about that?
Yeah.
Was there any doubt in your mind that the Patriots were going to at least get a field goal? There wasn't in mine. Like, there wasn't in my mind when the Patriots got the ball back with just under 2 minutes left that this wasn't at least going into overtime. Right? Wasn't it a 3-point game, or am I off
Yeah.
on that?
No, you're right.
Okay.
I'm not confident in Mac Jones, to be honest with you. I
Right.
mean, those are the moments where usually he can't live up to it. And that's of many things. That's often maybe one of the talking points of with any quarterback. Can you, as the quarterback, put the team on your shoulders and win a game essentially by yourself? If they can't do that, then you're going to have to move on. Mac Jones did it. But a lot of that even then was miscued by the Bills. I mean, a screen pass that goes for 40 yards, they were essentially in field goal position at that point, and the pressure really wasn't on for Mac to continue to drive them down the field. You give them credit. I mean, the defense of the Bills has been spectacular so far this season. They were not this afternoon against New England, who certainly does not trot out the most talented bunch at really any skill position that the Bills are going to face. And I know you asked me on the postgame show. I think it's a valid talking point of, are the injuries catching up to that side of the ball? Maybe a little bit. I think maybe having not just Daquan Jones, but also missing Ed Oliver in the middle. You like the depth of Jordan Phillips and Tim Settle and Poona Ford, but they're not Ed Oliver or Daquan Jones. And I think maybe we saw the product of the driving force of the Bills' great defensive front and the start they've had has maybe been as much about what's been happening on the interior as well as what the guys on the outside, the A.J. Epinezas and Leonard Floyds, have been doing on the outside. So I was not in that boat, Kevin, to answer your question. I thought the Bills had a shot of stopping them and ending the game and pulling one out of their butt and getting out of here and making the conversations a lot different after the game. Instead, they lost the game, and frankly, they should have.
Yeah, when Mac Jones threw that ball and there was the fumble and the Bills got it back and took over, that was the Mac Jones moment where I thought, okay, this is what we've been waiting for all game, is for, not that it was Mac Jones' fault for the turnover, but the Patriots offense and the Bills defense, you felt something needs to happen and should happen in the second part of the game, where the Patriots become the Patriots, the Bills become the Bills, and all is right. But I don't know, man. Like, just seeing how Mac Jones was operating throughout the entire afternoon in the Patriots offense and the Bills defense, I just felt, not that, I mean, again, it's Mac Jones, but just under 2 minutes, that's enough time that Mac Jones doesn't have to rush, doesn't have to hit big plays, and sure enough, they hit a big play on a screen to move the ball down the field. It's kind of funny, John. We've said it before. I'm from the New England area. I know a lot of people in New England. I'm out here. I know a lot of Bills fans out here. The complaining on my phone about the refereeing on both sides throughout the entire game, including that play where there was a Patriots lineman downfield, a flag was thrown, then it was picked up. Bills fans say for no reason. My cousins in New England are all, and my brother and my dad is all like, finally the refs give one to the. It's just the whole feeling the entire afternoon with what Mac Jones was able to do just put me in a place where the cards were all falling on the Patriots' way in this one, and it was just too late. The Bills can't keep putting themselves in holes like this against the garbage part of their schedule, John. Jacksonville, well, Trevor Lawrence is okay. We could see a win there. The Giants, well, they're going to start Tyrod Taylor. Barely squeaked one out there. Now you go into New England where the Patriots hadn't won a game, and there's talk all week that the Bills could put the nail in Bill Belichick's coffin, that he's done. Of course, I think I heard before the game that he signed a contract extension that no one had really heard of. But, I mean, talk about a get-right game. This was a get-right game for the Patriots.
Yeah, talk about flipping the script. What's wrong with Belichick? The Patriots done all of this, and lo and behold, you're right. The Bills may have been the life support and the life raft and life preserver that this team needed to at least maybe find their way to respectability
Mhm.
of sorts. There's still a long way to go. It's still just one game, and the Bills aren't right, but you never know if this is something that can maybe springboard them. But let's get back to the Bills offense,
Yeah,
Kevin,
I'm sorry.
because no, it's fine because that is that is the ultimate riddle. That's the puzzle here that we're all trying to figure out. And was there anything positive that you took out of the way that the Bills offense played today against New England?
Okay, so you had mentioned this on Twitter about playing fast, playing up tempo. I like that. I think Josh Allen plays better in that. I talked to Fred Jackson during the post-game show while you were in the Bills locker room about what that does for a player. And he's like, you just get into it and you force the defense on the other side of the ball to become very vanilla when you start doing that out there because they don't have options on what to do. And when this offense is in a funk, I loved when they started to do that. I loved when, well, what do you know, a quick fake or, play action, and you have Dalton Kincaid 7 yards down the field, stop, get the ball, and then push forward for the first down. We hadn't really seen that with Dalton Kincaid that much on a regular basis. We started to see that. I'm a big fan of getting James Cook involved in the passing game because that's why you got him. We saw some of that. That I liked. It seemed like Josh Allen got the ball around to more people as the game progressed. And then when you needed Stephon Diggs, you got Stephon Diggs. All that stuff that I liked. But what I couldn't stand and what you can't stand with this Bills offense is constantly going 2nd and 7. All of a sudden, it's 2nd and 13. All of a sudden, it's 3rd and long, 2nd and long, constantly in long. When the Patriots on offense were going 1st down, okay, 2nd down, 2nd and 5. 3rd down, 1st down. 1st down, 2nd and 5. And doing what you want this Bills offense to do. And I think it just got thrown out of whack right off the bat with the interception off the top. And it took some settling down for this team. And I can't explain the first half. Like, it's unexplainable to me. You have the players out there. Was Bill Belichick just that much better of a coach all of a sudden this season today than any other day? Or is it just sloppy preparation going into a game like this where you read the headlines on how much you should be killing the Patriots on offense? It's just there are good things in there that need to be built on, but they need to start coming sooner.
I don't think they overlooked the New England Patriots. And I say that because they played like garbage offensively against the Giants on Sunday Night Football after a poor performance where they struggled for 3+ quarters against the Jaguars in London. So I don't think they're at the point of, well, we know they certainly can't and shouldn't overlook anybody. And I honestly don't think that that's it. I think when you say it's unexplainable, that to me is what puts the sirens on, because that's what the players are saying. Now, obviously, they're not going to roll it all out and put everything on the table for the media. There's going to be conversations and more real types of responses and evaluations inside the building that they'll keep internal. But every guy to a man in there, from Sean McDermott to Josh Allen to Dawson Knox and Mitch Morse and down the line it goes, they all say, you guys keep asking the same questions. If we had the answers, we wouldn't be having these questions asked because things would be better. And for 3 weeks in a row, an offense this talented, it should not be happening like this. And so for you or for them to be searching for answers at this point of the season, when Josh Allen's been around for a while and been great, Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, Dawson Knox, Deion Dawkins, Mitch Morse, Spencer Brown, all of these guys have been there on offense. It's not like they're trying to integrate all of these new weapons and all of these new schemes and everything. And it's not like it's been a slow burn to try to figure it out this season. Before this stretch of 3 games, they were absolutely unstoppable against Miami. That's what is so peculiar. It's this switch flipped out of nowhere after their highest of highs to now their lowest of lows. And they have no idea, it appears, how they got here, why it's happening, or what the heck to do to stop it from happening and be back to that team that we saw against Vegas and Washington and the Dolphins, of course, being the poster child.
Will you agree with me on this, that we saw basically this exact same thing, although it happened in game against the Packers last year? It was like suddenly in the second half of that, it was a Sunday night or a Monday night game against the Packers, suddenly out of the blue, the Bills' offense kind of stopped moving the ball. And then it became their offensive identity pretty much the rest of the way, John, was that, yeah, they were winning games by the skin of their teeth. And then we all know how that ended up playing out. And I see them in the same spot here. It's like you were dominant against the Dolphins, and then what really happened there? And today against the Patriots, I mean, Josh Allen was rushed around everywhere. The offensive line looked like hot garbage against the Patriots.
So the question now is, Kevin, what do they need to do? They don't have the answers, but they got to find them, because as you said, this is following the same pattern as what this offense went through a year ago. They ultimately were still winning games. They still were actually producing decent amount of points. But as we've said so many times, and we won't exhaust it much more, is it just looked so hard. And so all of the talk going into this season, OTAs, minicamp, training camp, preseason, was how does this offense evolve to make things easier? And it was not that way against the Jets. It found its groove for 3 weeks after that, and now here we are. And all of the conversation, or most of it a year ago, while they were going through their rut, was, oh, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We've got time. There's urgency, but it's a week to week, all of this stuff. And ultimately, they never found it out, and it bit them huge against the Cincinnati Bengals, and their season ended earlier than most people felt that it should. There's 7 games in at this point, and I would say 4 of them offensively have been bad. So more games than not, the questions are there with the offense. And this has been, to sustain it for 3 straight weeks is alarming for sure. So for me, there needs to be real urgency. It's a short week, so any sort of change is not really possible going into their next game against the Bucs. But after that, Thursday night is a big thing for me, Kevin, because after that, the trade deadline comes up that following Monday. And also you have an extra long week and a half or so before your next game to implement any sort of major changes. And so the question then is, do you think we're reaching a point where something has to happen that's drastic rather than minor?
Trade deadline just around the corner, John. I mean, you want to talk about a shakeup, do something big to shake this team up. As far as the offense goes and what they're doing on the field, you hear a lot of you got to let Josh be Josh, and he's being held back by Ken Dorsey, and yada, yada, yada. We go on and on with that, but maybe short week. I mean, I think I hear simplify the playbook, go into the game and just do what you need to do to get the win. Maybe get more comfortable. Maybe just dumb down the playbook for Josh Allen and give him less and less decisions to make, with the ability to break off something if that isn't there, get some yardage, get out of bounds, get the first down. But what you got to do off the start is a high percentage pass play to get the team moving if you're going to pass the ball. If not, I'm always fine with, slowly starting with a run at this stage in the game. But something other than what they've appeared to be doing the last few weeks is trying for a big play downfield early and then get off schedule, as we say, and then all heck breaks loose. Get something that gets you 5 yards on that first play on offense and then kind of take it from there.
So Latavius Murray was open right in front of Josh, first play of the game. He kind of started in the backfield and leaked out as a safety net right in front of him.
Saw
And
it.
Josh then obviously threw the interception. So my question to you is, for those sort of changes to happen for the offense, is it more on Ken Dorsey, play calling and scheme, or is it more on Josh Allen and his decision making? Because I think that's kind of an interesting dynamic of where we're at here of, are things slowing down, or is this idea of keeping it short and quick, who's the person that ultimately makes that happen? Is it the guy throwing the football or the guy calling the plays?
I don't want to do coach speak, John, but the players are out there to execute. And I'm not trying to give Ken Dorsey a pass because some of the plays are, but I'm just going off of that first pass play. If it's, Diggs, as we heard from Josh Allen, is my first read. And if he's open, I'm going to him. Well, he wasn't open. You could see Peppers kind of floating back into the passing lane. Again, we're not out there at, full speed trying to do this. But when you see it with your own naked eye, Peppers was there basically waiting for Murray. But when Murray came out, he just kind of started running back, almost like he baited Josh Allen to, I'm going to bite on Latavius. But no, I'm not. When you would almost appreciate if Josh Allen went towards Peppers and faked towards Diggs and just got it out there to Murray. And there's your nice chunk yardage first play of the game. And then you take it from there. I think Josh was way outsmarted on that first play of the game. Does that answer your question?
Kind of. I mean, you leaned into your New England Murray pretty well on that little rant. So this is good. This is coming from a place of a good place in your heart. Listen, it's both probably, and that's what I think the problem is there's it's impossible and incorrect to simply place blame on one person or one area here. Because it's not.
Wait. You asked me who's to take the blame, so you forced me to pick someone.
Okay. Well, I mean, you could do a scapegoat, but in that instance, you're right. It's Josh. And so, but I do think that maybe the play calls or the schemes of that, the progressions, could also lean into guiding Josh maybe into those situations. I don't know. I think we are reaching a crossroads with Ken Dorsey. I just think that if the offense Thursday night against the Bucs, it's not like they were a rollover team, but whatever, it would be 4 straight times where the offense would struggle after what you saw at the back end of last year. I think they would have to seriously consider a move just because they need a shakeup. Like, I think if they come out against Tampa and just are not good again, I just don't, like, where else is there to turn? If they made this massive trade and got Devontae Adams, is that going to make the Bills' offense better? I mean, he's incredibly talented, but then you have to work him in. What does that mean for Gabe Davis? What does that mean for the rest of them? What does that mean for Dalton Kincaid? I don't have the confidence in them figuring out a way to utilize such a big move like that to think that would be worthwhile. I'm not saying it's even realistic or any of that, but what other thing would you do offensively? You're not doing anything on the offensive line. They're full of tight ends. They've got a bunch of small slot receivers. You would need to do something dynamic. Would you go for a running back? I don't think you want to do that.
I mean, you mentioned the Devontae Adams thing, and I think I saw stuff about Hopkins with how the Titans have been struggling.
Jerry Jeudy's the name that's been out there as well.
We often have talked about needing that Cole Beasley player in there. And no, I'm not saying go get Cole Beasley. What I am saying is, what about when Emmanuel Sanders was here? That's when Gabe Davis really was at his best, was when you had Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders as the 1-2, Gabe Davis as the 3, Cole Beasley in the slot. that's when this offense was really humming. Maybe you do need a veteran wide receiver that's out there as the true number 2, along with Stephon Diggs, to give you that option of almost having 2 number 1s out there for Josh Allen to go to with the supporting cast there.
Do you think so? Would you be more in favor projecting? Should Thursday night go like the past 3 games have gone? Would you think they would be better suited to turn it around with a personnel decision, adding a player, or making a coaching move?
Personnel. I don't think a coaching move at this stage in the game is. I don't think that's the way to go with this. I mean, what are you going to do?
Well, here's the thing. I think I would lean more towards the coaching change, while prefacing that by saying, I don't think this is all Ken Dorsey's fault. I really don't. I mean, you're right. When it's 2nd and 8 and there's a false start or some penalty on the offensive side of the ball and it turns 2nd and 8 or 3rd and manageable to 2nd and 3rd and long, that has nothing to do with Ken Dorsey. When Josh Allen throws an interception on the first play of the game, that's not on Ken Dorsey. When Dawson Knox can't hold on to that pass, or the pass isn't as good, or whatever is not going right, that's on the players. So I would fully say it's should not be put on all of Ken Dorsey's shoulders. But I do think that if you see one more performance like we've seen these past 3, you have to do something drastic. And one, the most realistic would maybe be a coaching change, because you'd have to fire off some assets and make some money work to bring in any sort of a talent that would shift things the way it needs to get shifted. I don't know. And who knows? What do you think you even need to see? And we can get into this in a couple days when we do the preview podcast. Yeah. But the conversation is going to be, what do you need to see on Thursday to feel comfortable moving forward that things are at least trending in the right direction? There's just a lot. And I think maybe we can wrap up the offense and just slide over to the defense for a little by saying that's the problem. When the offense wasn't finding their way, the defense was picking up the slack. And whether it's because of the injuries or maybe they're coming back to earth a little bit or whatever, they're not the ones and weren't able on this afternoon or in Jacksonville to shoulder the load, soften the blow, and carry them through to victory despite not being at their best.
Yeah, I think it begins and ends with not getting what you had been getting from the pass rush, John. And obviously, in the middle of that pass rush, you're now down Ed Oliver and Daquan Jones, or at least just for this game. Leonard Floyd, didn't notice him. Von Miller, had my eye on him throughout the game. Didn't notice much. I mean, yeah, like he pointed out, he's only had 3 padded practices, but it looked like he was trending up, at least as the last couple of games unfolded from the Jaguars to the Giants. Epinesa, nothing today from him, and I think this is all just connected, and you should be worried about it. I mean, if the opposing teams are going to come in and you're that weak in the middle and the middle's not helping get the pass rush, then that's a problem that they're going to have to start to address, because the Patriots made it pretty clear. We're going to run the ball in the middle. We're going to work some play action and scheme some guys open, and you're not going to get to us in time. Keep in mind, I think I heard, and I'm not sure, so I'm not 100% on this, that the Patriots' offensive line wasn't exactly 100% healthy going into this one. So I just thought we would have seen more. I think Jordan Poyer had the only sack in it. It might have been like a team sack, but I know I heard his name on the broadcast.
I'll say this. The Patriots had some runs. Stevenson had a long of 14. Zeke had one of 10. Demario Douglas had the end around for 20. But I actually don't think this idea of getting run on that well was even that good. I mean, they had 96 rushing yards. And so on 4 yards a carry as a team. So I don't think the run defense, especially from the defensive front, was that bad. It just produced no pressure. I mean, Mac Jones was 25 of 30, The one sack was Jordan Poyer. I mean, he was really rarely under duress, and that's what allowed him to just go boom, 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 boom. And Von Miller is the interesting part of this because they had Greg Rousseau back. Epinesa, you saw in some pressures. Leonard Floyd, I think, maybe. And we know what he's been to this point this season. But Von Miller, as Sean McDermott said afterwards, he says, I think maybe you need to manage expectations. I mean, this is a guy who tore his ACL on Thanksgiving. And as Von said, he had no training camp, he had no mini camp, he had none of that stuff to get up to speed here. And he's only had a couple practices, and their schedule obviously not really going to allow for much of a traditional practice format this week going into the Thursday night game. So this is maybe what is reasonable to think that you'd be getting out of Von Miller. But it's not a big deal when Leonard Floyd and A.J. Epinesa and Greg Rousseau are flying off the edge and getting sacks and producing pressures, and Ed Oliver's up the middle and all of that. When you're getting nothing, and then Von Miller's not giving you anything, I think that's where this pops up. Von has always made it clear, and I think this is the right mindset. His return has always been geared towards the end of the season when the games matter the most. Of course, the Bills are 4-3. They're not dead in the water by any means, but the urgency is up a little bit. So maybe the time frame of when Von thought he'd really be hitting his stride and getting back to where he was pre-injury, I don't know if they can necessarily afford that. It's 1 week, but you're right. This Patriots offensive line was not full of all pros and pro bowlers there. They were pretty banged up.
I think we're about to find out that the time to be playing your best football for the Bills might be coming a little bit earlier than what we've been used to over the last few years, where you need to start playing better football. I think it's coming up quicker than that because, like you pointed out, after the Buccaneers on Thursday, you then have the Bengals in primetime, who seem to have found their answer lately on their struggles at the beginning. John, any concern at the cornerback position? We had talked about it with the trade deadline coming up, if that was a position that they might need to target to get some help at. Are we still in that area where that might actually be more realistic than on offense?
I don't know, because who do you get as a linebacker to settle the void of Matt Milano? We've made it clear, and we know no one's going to be Matt Milano. But how do you find someone who's better than Dorian Williams, who's better than Tyrell Dodson, who's also not going to block the path of Dorian Williams or cost too much money or any of this? I just don't think, I don't know what you do there. I think they just kind of are stuck and have to figure it out. And Dorian Williams has gotten the start, and he's been pulled from the game twice, both in London and this afternoon. Sean McDermott doesn't seem to particularly know right now how that's going to shake out. I don't think the Bills lost this game. I don't think the Bills lost in London. And I think the Bills defense obviously was good last week. I don't think the defense faltering is because Dane Jackson is playing for Tre'Davious White. I mean, sure, maybe you could improve, but I don't think there's this major urgency to add a top-tier corner. If anything, maybe you just look for some more depth, because we've seen Kaiir Elam up and down when he plays, and he's your third corner. He's the next man up, and then you have Jamarcus Ingram, an undrafted guy at UB, who's next after that. So maybe depth. And then on the defensive line, I mean, they're already loaded at defensive tackle. There's guys just aren't producing.
Yeah.
In the one game where it was simply Jordan Phillips, Tim Settle, and Poona Ford. So I struggle with the trade deadline because I don't know what on defense is worth a big swing, maybe a more minor move. And then offensively, like I said, I just am not confident that a move the size that you would think they would make, to, instead of just adding a guy, adding a guy, I just don't know and feel confident that could be incorporated well enough to get an offense that's been sputtering to be elite once again.
Before we head out, John, the issues on offense and defense. This was an issues on offense, defense, and special teams type of game. Those three phases of the game that they always say, the coach speak, you got to think of all three phases. Is there a concern with Tyler Bass missing another field goal?
The antenna is up. I like to say that. I mean, the guy was the AFC Special Teams Player of the Month for September because he didn't miss a kick. And we hit October. Things have gotten scary the past couple weeks here, missing 2 field goals against the Giants and then missing 1 against the Patriots. And certainly, if he was missing these and the offense was playing well, it would be a nugget, but it wouldn't be as magnified. They needed those points against the Giants, and it would have been a completely different end-of-game scenario had the Bills had that field goal and would have maybe been able to run things a little differently or had to worry about just getting into field goal range rather than, 12 seconds or whatever it was to score a touchdown 75 yards. So I think it's just all kind of compounding. But what are they going to do? I mean, you're not making a move off of Tyler Bass. The hope would be just ride it out and he finds his way. Right. And kickers maybe just sometimes get in a little rut, just like the offense or just like the defense or players individually. So it's certainly something to keep an eye on. Again, I think Thursday for everyone on this Bills team that trots out there, everything is magnified and you just need to see some positive things in some capacity at all three phases.
Everyone in a rut all at once is not a good recipe for success. Before we go, something positive from the game. Let's just end on a positive note going into the game coming up. I like James Cook game. I thought James Cook had a solid game, and I thought they used him well as things progressed in the second half.
I will say from a game standpoint, I thought Dalton Kincaid, that's positive. 8 targets, career high for 8 receptions, career high, 75 yards, career high. I know people want him to be the guy who stretches the field and talk about throwing him the seam routes and things like that. I think at this point in time, if he can just be that guy and maybe even with a little more volume, I think that's just what this offense needs right now. I think that's what it needs right now. And so I'll take that as a positive. Another positive, Patriots clam chowder here at Gillette.
Oh, baby.
On point once again. And even though, much like the Bills offense, the halftime food did not really come off to a good start. They didn't have it out in time. So I didn't get my normal apple cobbler and ice cream, vanilla ice cream, but they had a awesome cupcake that I enjoyed at halftime. So that was a good way to kickstart things into the second half. So Dalton Kincaid and the Gillette Stadium clam chowder provided here, always on point.
Is it cold enough there for that legal seafood clam chowder to warm the belly and make you feel warm after being out on the field reporting post-game? Because it does. The times it just warms your belly right there when it hits.
It was actually pretty pleasant today. I thought once, and I was looking at the weather, maybe getting to the upper 40s. So I brought another jacket thinking I'm going to be right on the line here of what do I do? Like, I don't want to be that guy who wears gloves with a suit or a scarf or a hat with a suit. I didn't really know what to do, but it all worked out. And, hopefully we're finishing this up 7:20. I can get my work done, get back to good old Providence, Rhode Island, which has been a nice little change of pace, and watch some Sunday Night Football and see how things go from there.
All right, get yourself a lobster roll down in Providence, Rhode Island, either with butter or mayo, however you want to do it, John. And the Sunday Night Football game looks good. We'll be back here on Tuesday to get you ready for Bills and Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield at quarterback. So we'll see how the Bills do there. We'll get you ready for that. As always, thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you later.